Okay. I think it's going live, I think. Okay, yeah, it is. It is now. Yes. Sweet. Okay. Probably play like a bit and then I'll hit the bit. What am I up to? Well, casting. Oh, what kind of game? ML, and then I've been playing a lot of single players. I play this gacha game called Limbus Company. I'm not sure if anyone heard about it. Oh, but this is the only like gacha game that I'm invested in because um, then simulation, colony simulation. Like RimWorld Schedule One, all those kind of stuff. Uh, which one? Oh, yeah, I've seen it, but I haven't. Yes, yes, I've seen it. Yeah. By the way, can I? Is it possible for me to get a link to this Excel sheet? Yeah, because I notice with the way I crop things, if I if I click it right, if I click the full screen, everything just disappears. Yep, yep, yep. Ah, it's fine. It's fine. Mm. Oh, this is very like like a very Dota thing, right? Like the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, yeah. Mm. 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 Right, right. Mm. Mm-hmm. Carry. Oh wait. Oh no. Okay. Sorry. Wait. Can you try speaking again?
Check, check. One, two, three.
I'm an idiot.
Uh,
Okay. Wait. There was no audio
yeah.
input. Oh. Oh my
For
god.
everyone, no, it's okay. We're
Yeah.
just
Okay. Okay.
again.
Yeah.
It's
You guys
just
didn't miss much. Okay. Thank God.
yeah. Didn't yeah. Not much
Whew.
actually. So yeah. So technically speaking, there's instances of picks which is 1 up until 17, which it will sound alien to most of the MLBB viewers out there. We could also look at it in picks and ban orders, 1 through 10, and this is what I generally use when it comes to stats. Very useful when it comes to stats, but probably
Mhm.
not useful in practice, like in broadcast or maybe when you're speaking to a fan. It's not gonna be that useful.
Mhm.
Then you can go composite, which is basically there are six picks. There are 7 slots, in fact. The first pick being blue first pick, pick number two
Mhm.
is red first pick, and then up until seventh. So technically speaking, there are seven slots for picks,
Mm.
which I kind of wanna. This is what let's try and use this for this particular broadcast, and
Mm.
then hopefully this catches on for the viewers as well. So let's call it like the first pick for blue side is number one.
Mm.
So number two or second pick is when you say second pick, that should automatically register in your head like it's the red side first two picks. So pick number that's the second pick. And then when we say third pick or pick number three, that's second and third pick for the blue side team.
Mm.
And then the fourth pick is the
Third pick red side.
third pick for red side. Then five and then seven and then six. We can just say six and seven as the last picks for blue side. Blue side last pick or red side last pick or
Mm.
number seven or number six, right? So I think that this is pretty much the easiest to understand. At the same time, it makes a lot of sense, especially when you're gonna be studying a team. Um, for example, when you remake the stats eventually, you'll notice that there are patterns for each team, especially with like pick number four and pick number seven, right?
Mm.
And number two. Um, for also for a very easy way to understand some picks, we can use like phases. So first and
Mhm.
second phase, it's pretty easy to also define. First phase is the first three picks. Second phase the second to the
Mm.
last picks, right? And this is the common nomenclature for pro teams.
Mhm.
So it's like so baba means like bottom or down. Yeah, so in the Philippines they call it when they say they wanna pick this sa baba, which means in the bottom. It kind of means second phase, right?
Right. Right.
Right. And then first pick, then uh, obviously when pro teams call it first picks, literally the first pick. When they say first two picks, that's usually the red side pick. When
Mm.
they say last pick, obviously you know what it is. It's the last pick, right?
Yeah.
So just this is for just some definition of terms, I guess. Um, so this matters a lot. So this will matter so much as we study the drafts even more, right? Now let's get into the other sheet where now we can um, now we now that I look at my sheet, dude, I realize it's so bad. But yeah, what let's start let's start by let's start let's start studying drafting by actually studying the rules inside the game.
Mm.
Okay. So the first roles, the primary roles that we have is pretty much the gold, jungle, EXP, mid, and roam, right? So everybody knows about this already.
Mm.
We know this. We know, depending on the meta game, position 1 through 5 might differ, but I still feel that this should be standardized. And gold being position 1, jungle being position 2, and position 3 for XP for me is no matter what you do, no matter I mean, no matter what other people say, this is I stand by this. So this is more of a more of my own understanding of the game. Position one being the most or the highest priority up until five, which is the least priority when it comes to the farm.
Mm.
And most, I think, I think it's now general for all of the teams in Southeast Asian region to call mid lane either mage or position four, right? So when
Yeah.
they say pos four, they already know about that. That's practically it. So primary roles, they're quite self-explanatory. So let's let's color let's color that out. We already know what it is. Now, secondary roles, or what I call the pseudo roles, and I think that every MOBA and even FPS game out there will have their pseudo roles, right? It's not they're not even like actually defined, and you're not required to have all of them, but it exists in the game, right?
Mm.
So I have my own pseudo roles that I also explain to the players that I coach. So it's more about what your task is inside the game, and it's more on the hero composition. It's more applicable in hero compositions, right? So I'm pretty sure that you'll understand this, but for all the viewers out there, this is more like roles that aren't really actually defined, but what you do in the game or what your job is when it comes to like approaching the hero composition, right?
Right.
So let's call them pseudo roles or secondary roles. First is contact, and if you're a fan of FPS, you know what this is. Contact is basically the first guy you interact with, or the first guy out. It's like almost I want to say initiator, but sometimes a contact player does not initiate, if you get my meaning. Just, stands in front of
He's the one
he's
that
the
like
first one to
receives
show
contact,
himself.
right?
Yeah, exactly. Contact, right? So I think it's perfect. I borrowed it from FPS,
Mm.
Valorant, or yeah. So I by the way, if you guys have any other good suggestions for if you also Husky Dude, if you have any better term for the next set of roles that I'm gonna say, please suggest them, because especially with this one, second engage, I don't know how to. I don't know what else is good, but if you hear a second engage, it's basically the second one to engage. So, for example, contact and engage. Let's just say between Grok and Kufra, traditionally, right?
Mm.
Kufra is more of a second engage type of hero. Grok is more like a contact hero for me, because Grok gets in front, right?
Mm.
Kufra does not want to be seen. Actually, he hides in bushes. So heroes that are initiators but has to hide, uh, has to hide, or is more rewarded if they're the second one to jump in. I call them second engage. The best example that we have right now is Gatot Kacha. And I know
Mm.
that you will agree with me on this. You don't want your Gatot Kacha to be the first one to enter the bushes or to be the contact
Yeah.
guy, right? You want him to either peel for you or be the second engage,
Yep.
right? So that is the importance of the second engage. And this is going to be very important because when you now draft your EXP and your roamer, you now decide, is your EXP laner going to be your contact or is it going to be the second engage? Vice versa. So you have to understand that. Now, technically speaking, peel is also important, but I know this is also the third pseudo role. But I know that teams in the professional level want to call it just peel. So they kind of do the same. But peel, second engage is more of an initiator type. Peel is more like a defensive type, right?
Mm.
Peel uh, in MOBA terms is basically, I guess they're protectors, right?
Yeah, you
Yeah,
like you keep the enemy away from your cores.
exactly. There you go. Yeah, so that's basically it. Then DPS is your typical course, but I guess depending on the composition you have, you may have your marksman as your DPS. You can also have your mage as your DPS. It's just basically just your damage dealer, right?
Mm.
And there could be two damage dealers in one composition. But basically, they're your main source of damage. The next one is I call it the dead lane because I love Dota 2 and we call it the dead lane in Dota 2. But this is practically your split pushers or your like opposite lane split pusher, right? And since this is our show, my man. So I'm gonna call it dead lane, and you have no choice.
No, I agree.
But
Yeah, like
yeah, but basically that's it. It
mhm.
explains itself, right?
Yeah, like I think what I had defined as a dead lane is just the lane doesn't interact. You know, like the hero matchups, they don't interact. For example,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
uh, what was like yeah,
yeah,
Uranus and like export or something. You know, like there's no
yeah,
interaction. It's a boring lane and no one dies.
yeah,
They cut waves. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, they just got waves, they just proxy, whatever. Yeah. So it's a dead lane. So what is your dead? Yeah, you assign that as your secondary role, and then next one is a vision. So it can be, it can be, it's so vague that because there are so many ways you can have vision. You can have your Selena traps for vision. You can have face checking heroes like the Grok, for example, as a vision. You can even have your Navarias to just use skill shots whatsoever. But at the same time, you that is also a role that you have to play in specific compositions.
Mm.
Next is the dive, which is there was a meta game where this was a thing. Your typical Yuzhongs, your Lapu Lapu, your Benedetta, your Arlot, those heroes that go to the back lines, your Esmeraldas, it's also pretty self-explanatory. This dive comps might not be the go-to um, compositions now, but because Lucas is back, I'm seeing, and then there are some teams that also pick up the Lapu Lapu actually.
Mhm.
So with the presence of those heroes, kind of made me think that yeah, secondary roles like the dive, they're also important. And then I called the last one I call sack, but some teams call it like suicide, so sui or sack or sacrifice. Basically, is yeah, you're usually this is the those XP laners that are willing to kind of give up their life in exchange for a core, like a mid laner or a gold laner or something like that. But
Mm.
basically, you're a suicide squad. So these are the secondary roles. Now it matters so much because all of these secondary roles are so important when it comes to tackling hero compositions. I'm using this by the way. Try to you can see this um,
Yeah.
MOBA draft planner. So I think this is like mid uh, Rome, I think jungle or something like that. So I'm moving some stuff around. Typically, you want to surround your gold laner, right? And your mid laner, gold laner are usually outside. And so this is like a typical composition. Your roamers, your XP laners in front, then your gold laner and mid lane and your jungler. Now, why should we study the pseudo roles? Because sometimes your contact is your EXP laner and your peel is your roam. So for example, the roam, like maybe a Gatot Kacha, this is the best example. Your Gatot Kacha will be either so far away for the Avatar of the Guardian or very near the gold laner so that they can peel for your gold lane as well as your mid lane. While the jungle is looking for an opening either through here, like if there's a for example, a turtle fight. The turtle is here. Can I write down actually? Actually write down. So for example, the turtle is here, right?
Mm.
So typically your jungler is now here. Your EXP lane is somewhere out here. He's the contact guy. Your gold laner is somewhere around here. Roamer is uh somewhere around this area. That's it's kind of nearby the EXP. Then your mid laner is also tucked behind so that you deal the damage from long distance. Now in this case, right? Let's that include the opponents. In this kind of setup, your contact is your EXP, and then your second engage is your roamer. But there are some compositions where your roamer is your hero, is what you use to zone out. Like I've seen a glue in Rome lately. I've seen Khalid, for example, right?
Mm.
They're just running around zoning out the opponents, and your second engage is like Gatot Kacha. But sometimes it's like your EXP, like your what's a good example of
Hylos?
Hilda,
Hilda, yeah.
Hylos and Hilda, and then you have your roamer, which is maybe a Jawhead or maybe
A Cho.
A Cho is best. Yeah, you're right. They cannot be your contact because the Cho wants to be kind of stealthy a little bit, you know.
Mm-hmm.
The Cho wants to be the second engage. Or maybe sometimes he is required to peel for the marksman because there's probably a diver from a Joy, for example, goes here,
Mm-hmm.
right? As your enemy jungler. So he's not interested in getting turtle, wants to diver mid in your gold. So you want your roamer like a Tigreal or a Gatatkacha or Hylos to kind of help with that. So that's also important. And I hope that you guys understand the importance of pseudo roles, right? You're still okay?
Yeah, yeah, I'm
Yeah,
following.
all right. Yeah. So this matters in the draft because sometimes um, you adjust your draft or your draft order or the next hero that you get based on what secondary roles you will need because secondary roles and eventually tertiary roles are used when it comes to like building your composition. So the main composition types that we have right now is this. By the way, this can change. This is just the
Mm.
meta that we have right now. There's a three-man. Actually, in a way, there's a five-man comp right now that that's not box type, but basically, if you want to know more about box type, this is essentially your typical ube, which is where
Mm.
yeah, you just you develop this area, uh, you develop this box where it's typically like this, and you want to engage your exp. Your exp is somewhere here, and then your roamer. Your roamer is protected. Is in the is your contact. Your exp kind of moves around, and it will depend on the situation if he will be diving or if he will be peeling for your team. But it's basically just always around this box, and then your mid lane, your gold laner is in the middle, protected by these three dudes around, and then you maintain your box. Like it doesn't look like an actual box. It's more
Mm-hmm.
of a circle actually. But box type strategies are typically like that. So it's a typical ube, typical like setup, your utility junglers kind of setup. Then there's a 4-1 where you have a very strong four-man with a split pusher, which is now the meta game that we have right now. Your
Mm-hmm.
junglers usually split push, right? Your
Yeah.
Hayabusa, your Joy, your Moss, your Soyu, and then sometimes it switches. Your Moskov is on the other side. You have your Lucas in the jungle. You have your Moskov just split pushing. So it's like it's a 4-1 where the other, you know, the one guy can actually get back into the fight. So depending on what kind of main composition you have, you're gonna have different sorts of secondary roles, right?
Mm.
So that's pretty much what the importance is of the secondary roles. And I hope that the viewers are not bored yet.
Do
I trust you. Things will be more exciting in the next few minutes. Um,
do priorities of secondary row shift? Like for example,
yeah,
um, I'm running like a 4-1, right? I'm running like a four
yeah,
one. Let's
yeah,
say I have a Moskov. I have a Moskov, and then it's like
yeah,
Lucas Cho, uh Lucas Cho, Hylos, and
yeah,
then maybe Sicilian. So
yeah,
the four-man is strong, and then Moskov plays side lanes. Does the priorities of secondary roles change because I'm
yeah,
running that, as compared
yes,
to if I have a comp where the mid XP and roam are the same, but
yeah.
is my marksman instead of a Moskov is like a
Mm.
Beatrix, and then my jungler instead of a Lucas is like a Hayabusa. The secondary roles, the priorities they change, right?
Yeah, for sure. 100%. That's the reason why I actually mentioned the secondary roles because depending on what you want as a team, like what your direction is, your priorities definitely change because you will be read by your opponents eventually, or um, you will have to design your draft order so that you will get so this matters in the
Mm.
your draft. Ideal hero in
Mm.
the end. So definitely, it's mostly uh, the reason why mentioned secondary roles is because of that word that you used, priority. Because now your priorities will shift for sure. Yeah.
Right, right, right.
Okay.
Got it.
And this is a more of a miscellaneous, but this is so high level. But I think I need to still mention it because there's this triangle that we have, and I'm sure that you are aware of this triangle: the
Yeah.
engage, poke, and sustain.
I think
Uh,
I think the general audience might know it as the triangle of team fight, split push, and poke comp.
mhm.
I think like
Yeah, team
most people might.
fight. Yeah, split and poke. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. So engage is basically you want to engage as five. Poke is where you wanna. Oh, sorry. This is split. What? You kind of split the map, and then sustain is more like you, um, because these three compositions kind of counter each other. It's like it's almost like a rock paper scissors, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like
Yeah.
if people want a team fight, you split push, right? Like you,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So
If
something like
they're
that.
yeah. So for example, you're looking at
Wait, no,
oh
sorry, not poke comp. Pick off comps. Yeah, so it's like team
yeah,
fight, split push, pick offs. Yeah, yeah. I think that's the
team by split push.
pick off. So it's like if people split push, then you have heroes that pick off the split pusher, and
Yeah, something like that.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So uh I mentioned this because eventually you will also consider that in your drafting as a team. But I this is so high level, and in fact it's always it's not even like set in stone. Depending on specific parts of the game, you will have to adjust.
mm.
Sometimes an engaged comp needs to kind of split it a little bit just so that they can win a specific team fight. But I think it's worth mentioning. Lastly, the tertiary roles are just so I. This is for more of adjustment. It's always like it's almost dependent on how you read the game. You need a split pusher or an anti-split pusher. Basically, let's say you have a Novaria, which is an anti-split against or maybe an Angela. For the for the sake of explaining this, sometimes your Angela may be your anti-split pusher because you can just go to the lane and then just use your ult to get into the fight, right?
Yeah.
And then split pusher, it's always also dependent. Let's say you have a Moskov as well as a Suyu. Do you want your Moskov to continuously split push, or sometimes do you want your Suyu to split push so that they can so that you can bait your opponents, right?
Mm.
So it really is just tertiary roles are more like situation based kind of roles. Hitman, this is I don't know what to call this, but basically, if you're like aside, if you're a Masha, for example, and then the enemy has a Kimi, which actually happened uh, in MPL when we faced Twisted Minds recently. So the Masha is more of a hitman where his only job is to actually take out a specific hero. Like you're
Mm-mm.
assigned to kill that hero. You're the designated killer for that hero.
We had that too. It was homeboys.
Hmm.
It was homeboys against what was that team again? It was homeboys against I think Team Ray. Yeah, it was home. Wait, no, not homeboys Team Ray. It was it Monster Vicious? There
Hmm.
was a game
What were
where
the heroes?
yeah, homeboys essentially went for like a Masha pick. They went for a Masha
Yeah.
pick, and then the whole objective is we find that one guy and then we blow him up.
Yeah, exactly.
Or was it
Pretty
O?
much.
Was it OB? Oh wait, no.
Yeah.
Homeboys did it. DxO did it too. So we had like two
Yeah.
teams that picked Masha. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, like you were drafted because of a specific job, right? Obviously, you still split whatever. You do your typical role as an explainer, but in specific situations, you're hitman because you have to kill specific guy. You're the only one that can actually kill a specific guy,
Mm.
something like that. So that's also important along the way, right? So okay, very last when it comes to like other considerations, these are the typical ingredients for for any composition. So they're not roles, but they're more like some of the ingredients. And you guys already know this. Your crowd control, your your DPS, which is your damage, is either physical or magical. I think right now you are required to have both
Mm-hmm.
because itemization is important. True damage should be included in here, but I didn't because it's very situational. I don't. Sometimes, yeah, there's some. I guess there are some seasons where the metagame dictates you need the true damage, but right now it's more of a luxury. Uh, but yeah, this is all of these are pretty much self-explanatory. Types of scrub control like single AOE, single like Way of the Dragon, AOE implosion,
Implosion.
long AOEs, Tigreal versus Ruby, for example. Ruby is more of a spam type of crowd control, whereas Tigreal is more of a long cooldown kind of control, right? So
Mm.
it's pretty self-explanatory. And then you have reliable and skill shots. Right? Although I think that mostly in MLBB is mostly skill shots, right?
A lot of crowd control nowadays. I think it's yeah. At least the big ones we see like
Yeah.
Gatot out. Uh,
Yeah.
like Cho
So in a
out. Like
way,
Jawhead.
yeah. Yeah. But I think you get the meaning. It's super self-explanatory. Then you have your physical DPS magic. So there's some kinds that I also want to emphasize on. So for example, burst, ramp, nuke, and combo. So burst is more like as the word states, burst. Farsa is the best example. Ramp is more like more damage over time, and it kind of needs to ramp up.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, for the best example is Claude and Carry. Carry is more of a burst, right?
Mm-hmm.
Claude is more of a ramp,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then you have your nukes, which is I think like Bruno in a way is for me the way that I describe Bruno is a nuke because it's like it's not that fast, but every hit is like a big chunk. You
Right.
know,
Right. Yeah.
it's not actual burst, but it's like a big chunk of
But it hits
damage.
you like very hard. Every shot.
Yeah, every shot. Then combo is more like combo types are like more I would say yeah you have to nail your combo pretty much like a Nathan combo can burst
Mm.
but you need your all of your spells, which is important because this is and if you play a combo based hero in a poke kind of composition, that will never work. If you get my meaning,
Mm. Mm.
because you need your big engage, and you cannot have like okay, use my first two skills here, then I use another, something like that. Very much the same with Magic DPS, and then you need wave clear, turret siege, sustain utility scaling. All of these are super self-explanatory. This is essentially what you need in a composition. All right. Now we
Mm.
go to the draft, and I hope dude, I took so long. I hope you're still fine. Are you still okay?
Yeah. I'm okay.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. Like
Yeah.
it's like revisiting a lot of the basics.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
really fun. I
All
actually
right.
enjoy things like this. We don't.
All right.
Funny enough, we actually don't have this, or that we don't do this in MPL MY.
Yeah.
So sometimes like we sit down, well, we go into a draft and we completely forget about some of these like basic
Yeah.
concepts.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's that's why we get we get like confused sometimes why for example there was in SPS
Yeah.
there was one that was picked up, right?
Yeah.
Because one isn't meta anymore. But then when you draft a marksman, for example, the first consideration that you pick up is what is the enemy's mid laner, because typically the enemy mid laner is your DPS or your damage source to one shot or destroy the marksman, right? For example, if you have uh let's say you have Beatrix,
Mm-hmm.
the Farsa is such a good hero against the Beatrix because it just burst him down from long distance. But Selena or Farsa is best against the 1-1. But if you just have a Selena, it's not good against the 1-1 because the 1-1 can just pop the needles and flowers,
Mm.
like the second skill to remove the stun and then turn it around. So I remember the last pick was 1-1 for what was that, Liquid or RQ? I can't remember. But there was that team that last picked the 1-1 because they knew that the mage was only Selena, which in this case is not a burst, it's not a nuke DPS, which 1-1 hates. 1-1 hates burst and nukes.
Mm.
1-1 likes to play against ramp type of mages like Eve. No, not really Eve, but
Uh,
yeah, Selena.
Selena. Yeah. Well, I want to say Sicilian, but he eventually becomes like big like nuke
Y-
combos.
Yeah, in a way. But yeah, I think you get my meaning, right?
Yeah, yeah. Like he,
Yeah,
she likes it when people can kill her fast.
exactly. Yeah. So those are the considerations. Now, um, this one, this is a wolf special. This is I just coined all these terms. They're not canon. They're wolf canon, more like. So this is I just invented this, guys. So believe me or you can believe me, you cannot believe me, but I think that they work. Right. So there are types of picks. Power pick. I'll explain that later, but because it's quite a complicated kind of concept. Flex pick, you already know this.
Yeah.
Kalia can be played EXP. Cho is the mother of all or the father of all flex picks. Almost can be played in almost actually played every role. I think actually played every role.
Well,
Yeah.
it has happened in MY. Well, except for mid and roam. At one point,
Yeah.
someone picked Cho jungle. Well, they lost
Cho
that
jungle,
game
yeah.
clearly, but
Yeah.
it was quite an entertaining game.
Yeah. There was a meta. There was Demon Kite was there actually. It was the Carl TZ Demon Kite era where they played the jungle Cho. EXP Cho has been utilized since M3. And Gold Lane Cho also used back in season 6 and many other seasons. Mid Lane Cho was actually used by Haji when he was with Oh My Venus.
Mm.
A lot of times actually. And Hate also played it in M3, the position for Cho. So yeah, that covers literally everything. So
But
flex pick. And then right now we have Gatatkacha, Hylos, Badang. That usually, Lucas can be played in multiple
Lucas.
roles. And flex picks are usually picked in the first phase because it doesn't make sense if you pick it in the last phase. I mean, sometimes it does, but generally the reason why you flex pick is to kind of mess with your opponents, right?
Yeah.
Okay, OP picks. Your new heroes usually when they get introduced. So you when it was introduced,
Yeah.
Chip,
Yeah.
uh,
Right now it's
1-1 at some
Kalea.
point, Kalea, right?
Yeah.
So your S tier heroes, which technically has a counter, but if it would take 3 heroes and or a big shift in a composition just to counter that hero, that is OP, right?
Mm.
A book pick this I get. I don't know. I've been playing chess, so I'm not playing a lot of chess, but I just looked at the one of the like a post game analysis for chess, and they call move a book move wherein it's just normal. It's like it's a normal pick. It makes sense. It's just
Uh, it's
this is
like
what you pick when this is picked.
it's like a pick that you expect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like yeah, sure, like a Farsa in the middle of the draft when, you know that it it's not bad and it's not the best. Like it's not a bad pick, but it's also not the best. It's like a
It's
yeah,
like, oh,
it's
but
a
it
book,
works anyways. Yeah.
but it works anyways, right? Typically, yeah, Farsa is a hero right now that kind of is the embodiment of this because Farsa just melds so well in any kind of composition. It just works. Yeah. And okay, the trophy pick is um I think this is more of a high level concept where usually it's done in slot number 4. Do you remember what slot number 4 is? Like
Uh,
for
wait. Slot number four. Slot number
yeah,
four. It's we're talking about the second phase, right?
that no. This is the red side third pick. Red side third pick.
Oh, we're talking about the
So
order.
one,
Okay, yeah. Oh,
yeah.
third pick.
All right. So
Right.
usually,
Yeah.
I this is very important because I use this so much when I was drafting for TNC. This is essentially what you get out of the fourth pick on the red side is the next instances that will happen will be four bans and then one pick. I think that fourth pick is so OP because you can pick a fragile hero. Let's say a Harith, for example, in that case.
Mm.
And then there will be four bans. So you can ban two heroes that will eventually counter the Harith. And then fourth pick a potential hero that you can deny pick, right?
Mm.
So it's trophy pick is a very strong hero but has a lot of counters, but then you can prepare for it anyways. And it just really glues everything together. Like it becomes your core. Um, yeah, Farsa, Phovius is also a good hero to use in that slot, or even like a Hayabusa, right? Or but the idea is you put it out there, but then you can. It's like you show it to the world, but you can counter it anyways.
Mm.
You
Mm.
can remove the counters to it anyways. And then a tech pick is this is what I use this I coined this word from typical trading card games,
Mm-hmm.
which is essentially a hero or a pick that only is applicable in that is only strong in that specific series. So it kind of is. Were you part of SPS in? You were there at SPS Malaysia, right? In
Y-
Asia,
Yeah,
casted in
we did
APAC.
it. We did it from Malaysia. Yeah, yeah.
APAC, yeah. No. I mean the
The
SPS APAC. That
SPS
was in
AP.
Feb.
Yes, yes, from Malaysia also.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Malaysia, yeah. So, teams started to pick up Nolan from out of nowhere,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Specifically Onic. So
yeah. I
that to me is a
remember.
tech pick because it only is strong during that time, that specific time or that specific series. Maybe if Twisted Minds and Blacklist faced up or Aurora faced up against each other, Fredrin becomes a tech pick. Anywhere else, it's not good, but
Mm.
during that specific series, it becomes a very important pick.
Yeah.
You
So
get my meaning?
it does it also counts as like a team uh having like their own playstyle. Like for example, right now Homeboys is
Yeah,
the only team that picks like Fredrin, and they
yeah,
flex
pretty
Fredrin,
much,
XP and jungle.
pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. So that and I say this because it's hard to argue that it's OP, but in specific scenarios, it's like the best hero in that specific series, day, or time.
So
Yeah,
it's like a gotcha pick, like that, right?
yeah, yeah. Then I this is more of a other terms that we use, it's like a safe pick. Uh, I'll explain that later. Power pick and safe. Deny pick is you're gonna be hearing that a lot from casters, which is where sometimes instead of like banning it, you just deny pick it. I
Mm.
think that this is an overused, not really overused, but commonly used term by us casters. Counter pick is also pretty common. It's literally counter your hard counters whatsoever. And then there are cheese or slash pocket strats or pick cheese picks. And I don't think I need to explain this. Yeah, there's the etymology for the word, guys. You just have to look, just Google it. It's a long explanation, but it's from StarCraft. It was from StarCraft. Okay. So let's talk about safe pick first. Safe pick. We utilize this a lot in back in season 14 for TNC. For example, a hero uh like
Right now, Harif.
Harith. Okay, good example. So hero, although there are many counters to the Harith, like Hayabusa, for example. Uh, Actually, there's not a lot. No, just Hayabusa. Think about it. Like Granger Harith used to be like a mirror match, like a 1v1, but now it's like more Harith. So yeah, Harith is safe pick. At the same time, let's say the Granger, sorry, the Hayabusa is already banned.
Mm.
Uh, that means that you can pick Harith. That the Harith is now a safe pick because even when you high pick or you prioritize the Harith, there's no counter anyways, so it's now safe. Now there are so many times like maybe slot number 4 or slot number 3, you already see that let's just say the enemy already picked up a a joy, or maybe what's a good example. Um, the enemy already picked up a Fredrin, for example,
Mm.
Fredrin as the jungler because they prioritized it for some reason. Or actually, no, that's a bad example. Or maybe a Hayabusa, for example. So now you're thinking, what could be your safe picks in as your answer? They picked up. They say you pick up Kalia. They pick up Hayabusa, as well as the Hilda, right?
Mm.
And now you know that the Hayabusa it is already picked up. So it means that you already know what the jungle is. That means now you have a lot of safe jungle choices because you already know that it will not be countered by the Hayabusa anymore. Maybe you can pick up Lucas as your jungler because it's already safe. And then you pick up your Valentina to go with it. Now the Lucas becomes a very safe pick because it is not countered by the enemy jungler, and also you already picked up the counter to the to your hero,
Mm.
right? So let's say you combo pick Lucas and Valentina, Lucas becomes a safe pick for you. Yeah.
Mm. Mm.
Now, a pin is more of it's also the same with uh in that scenario the Valentina is the pin because Valentina answers usually is the hero that you pick when up against assassins, because it if you pick up Farsa against an assassin, generally your mid laner is gonna be very mad at you, because why do you pick the Farsa when there's a Hayabusa on the other side? I'm gonna die many times.
Mm.
I'm a free target. Or if you pick Zushin when there is a Joy or Hayabusa. But if you pick up the Valentina, now you pin the Hayabusa because you're actually a counter to the Hayabusa. You can just, use Terrify. You can burst the Hayabusa. And also, you deny the potential counter for your Lucas,
Mm.
right? So the safe pick and the pin goes hand in hand, right? So, yeah. Is that,
Yeah, it makes
do you
sense.
understand? Yeah, makes all
Yeah,
right.
which is interesting because I recently I was talking about the the Lucas Valentina thing.
Yeah.
So what? So if essentially I was frustrated at one of the games we had where the draft it was I think it was like Homeboys Team Ray, and
Mm.
then what they did was they I think Team Ray's probably blue side, so they went
Mm.
Kalea, Kalea, and then Lucas Valentina, right? And then the enemy,
That's what I said, yeah.
yeah, and then the enemy went like Harif, I think Harif, Tusin, and Fredrin, if I'm not mistaken, in the red
Mm.
side first tree. Um,
Yeah.
but the but then again, like that Fredrin, we all thought it was a jungle pick because they ran Fredrin jungle,
Um,
and then they showed the Suyo last, so the Fredrin ended up going XP and then becoming like a big sandbag for the Lucas. But one of our main, or at least one of my main problems with that was the last two picks by Team Ray blue side, right? So Kalea, Lucas, Valentina, and then I think Carry Glue. And then the whole game we were just talking about
yeah.
you took the Lucas counter away, but right now your Valentina value is probably from Hylos ult, but your Kalea
Yeah.
kills no one because there's not enough like burst damage. So they
Burst,
lost the
yeah.
game in like 12 minutes. Uh,
Yeah, I
yeah.
see.
So I
Yeah.
was I was wondering. So part of me was wondering whether like is it
Yeah.
necessary? I feel like it's a blue side problem, right? If I take Lucas, I have to take the
Mm.
Valentina, but is it
Yeah.
necessary? I think that's like one of the like questions I had.
Yeah, yeah. So I know what you mean, because Valentina usually you pick it up against assassins. Usually when so when there's Valentina, let's say you already know that the enemy mid laner is Valentina. You
Mm.
are more rewarded if you pick up a utility jungler instead,
Mm.
because the Valentina does not deal any damage to utility junglers. Like Fredrin, for example, is gonna be happy. So wait, the Valentina was picked after the Fredrin?
No, Fredrin was picked after Valentina. So
Well,
Fredrin
that
was,
okay, that
yeah,
makes a lot of
Fredrin was
sense.
red 3.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that was yeah, that the I think the Fredrin third pick was a pretty good. It's actually a very very good pick. First of all, Valentina makes. Let's just say that it stayed as the jungler. The Valentina is not dealing any damage to the Fredrin, and then Fredrin actually wins the matchup versus Lucas,
Lucas, yeah.
right? So uh, that was actually a yeah. Red side actually in that scenario that you said, that was so good.
Yeah. Coach Erpang is a genius.
Oh,
It was
okay,
Erpang, yeah, it
Erpa
was Erpang
from Geek.
from Geek, yeah. And the Fredrin didn't even end up going to the jungle. He went XP.
Um, yeah,
It was Veldora, Vel XP
I see, I
Fredrin
see.
with Vengeance.
Very good. All right. Another other terms that we use, and this is this is something that I think that you really have to learn. It's a specific one. This is called trade. Everybody, if you hear some of the pro teams like coaches, they will typically say, "What is our trade?" Like they will always use that word trade. For example, back in MSC, I interviewed MP the King because MP the King won against Onic, right?
Mm.
In sorry, MSC. I'm talking about MSC in Riyadh. And the thing is, MP the King, the coach of MP the King's team was suspended because of whatever. Uh, and then MP the King had to be the drafter. And then I asked him
Oh,
like, how do you think you won against Coach Yeb in Onic? And MP the King just basically said, pangit ng trade nila, which means they had a bad trade. And when you say trade, this is essentially uh so that's ban number 3, which is the third ban for blue side.
mm-hmm.
Ban 2 4 6, which is all of the bans, the first phase bans for red side, and then pick 1 and pick 2. Right? So the trade happens between pick 1 and pick 2. Usually when you're drafting, you can see here, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you, for example, Fovius and Moscow, pretty standard bans. And now when you're Aurora, you ban Chip as well as Joy.
Yeah.
Now you're thinking, Aurora Falcons banned the Hayabusa, which kind of opens up the threat of the Harith because he ban or knowing that the Joy as well as the Hayabusa is already banned means that there will be um, scarcity when it comes to the junglers because you already have like your two best junglers.
Mm.
Now, knowing that, there is the threat of the Fanny. Now, Master the Basics or Aurora are thinking about the trade now, right? So, what's going to happen? If we ban the Kalia, the enemy will get Fanny.
Fanny.
And now, what else do we get? We only get the Zushin, which Fanny is more than happy to deal with the Zushin.
Mm.
Because if in this scenario that the Kalia was banned by Aurora, that doesn't make sense because if the Fanny was first picked by Falcons, you can no longer pick Zushin, right? And in the end, Falcons will get Fanny and Zushin just because you cannot get the Zushin.
Yeah.
And Fanny and Zushin is like a death sentence in that scenario, right? So that will be a bad trade. So Aurora decided that maybe a good trade is Zushin for Kalia in this case. So that is the trade.
Mm.
So they banned the Fanny. Zushin and Kalia is now open. They are forcing Falcons to decide, do you pick up the Kalia or the Zushin? Because if you pick up the Zushin, we will get the Kalia for ourselves, which we are very happy to have. And if not, yeah, go get the Kalia. We still have the Zushin, and then we can get another jungler. In this case, is the Suyo. So imagine Fanny, Joy, and Hayabusa means that there are no more assassin junglers out there.
Mm.
Yeah. So that is essentially what the trade is. But in any case, I think that in Falcon's mindset in here, Like they get the Kalia, they're more than happy to get that trade because they get the Lucas Valentina combo anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And since Master the Basics already showed the Suyu, Falcons felt very confident picking up the Lucas and the Valentina because Lucas jungler to jungler matchup wins.
Mm-hmm.
Then the Valentina is happy to deal with the Suyo since practically Suyo is still an assassin. And then there is an argument that can be made that Valentina is a counter to the Zushin. I don't really believe it, but RQ believes it, and apparently Falcons also believes that way.
Yeah. At
So
least you have like a good ult to steal, right? Like you. Yeah.
yeah, right, the Crimson Beacon. Honestly, in this game, I thought Falcons will take it. I don't know why they lost this game, but that's just MLBB.
No, this was the one. This was a series that put Rora in upper bracket, right?
That's correct. That's
Yeah.
correct. But in this game actually, I was restreaming this. I think I got 9 out of 10 here. Yeah,
So
and well, 9 out of 10 picks.
so why?
Uh,
So we had this narrative in MY
yeah,
where we were very
yeah,
convinced that if Harif is open, you pick Harif. Maybe it's an MY thing.
yeah. I
Maybe the
agree.
teams just take Harif, but there's no Harif here, right? Like he's completely ignored
Mm,
the entire
right.
draft.
Yeah,
So like how did the
yeah.
teams get to that point?
Okay, yeah, that's interesting because that's always dependent on the game. I think this is where the tech comes in because it really is dependent on what the priority is for each of the teams, right? So why did first of all why the first pick Harith is not a choice for Falcons in this specific scenario, right? Harith
Mm.
first pick is gonna be losing because that means Zushin and Kalia is gonna be the trade, which is pretty bad. Like
Yeah, it's a
Zushin plus Kalia, if we combine that together, also another death sentence. Right? So there's no legitimate answer for that. So um, in order for me to answer your question about the Harith, is we have to look at the picks one after the other.
mm,
So yep. In this case, now why did master the basics, not not pick the Harith even when it's available, and even when there's no Hayabusa, Fanny, and Joy. Uh, First of all, he needs to pick the Zushin, otherwise it will go to the other side. Second of all, although I don't personally agree with this Soyu pick, I felt like the understanding here for Coach Master the Basics is they have scouted and they know that the next best jungler for Kyle TZ is going to be the Suyo, right?
mm,
So it's more of a deny pick than it is a pick for them, right? That's my understanding. Of course, Coach Master the Basics have their own idea. For sure, they have a combo with it that eventually came afterwards, like the Joy the Suyu. That's a great combo afterwards. Now, why did Coach Trevor not pick up the Harith after this combo? It's mainly because they really want this Lucas against the Soyu. They already saw Soyu was the pick, and the book of drafting right now says that the counter to the Soyu jungle is the Lucas jungle because
mm,
in many scenarios the Lucas just wins the matchup. So Lucas jungle is the answer to the Suyu. In fact, if you look back at when the Suyu jungle was made early into MPLs, that is actually the general understanding. You pick the Lucas to counter the Suyu. So it just makes sense. Now, why did they not pick Lucas plus Harith? Well, it's because the Valentina can be stolen. Oh, can be stolen by Aurora. And we already know that because even when there's already a Zushin, Edward actually played the Valentina from the EXP
mm,
lane. So they don't want that. And also, uh, Valentina is okay versus Huyu, and Few has been, I guess, spamming the Valentina because in this case you also have to consider like what are the best hero, like what's their signature hero,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know. So Few, so it makes sense to get the three heroes, right? And then the glue was picked up. This is an I'm actually surprised that the glue is not first pick material right now because of how strong it is, but maybe eventually teams will catch up to that. But yeah, Glue is such a strong hero right now, and Glue makes a lot of sense versus Lucas as a jungler because if your EXP lane Glue can never be killed by a Lucas
Mm-hmm.
jungle unless the Glue is stupid, which Edward isn't. So yeah, when they know that it will be banned. So at this point, why still no Harith, right? Well, mainly because Harith will struggle against this Glue. So that's a counter already.
Right.
Um, yeah. Now, back when I was were streaming this, I was actually surprised that the carry was fourth picked by Aurora. I think it's I don't know how you feel about it, but I don't think it's like the best pick in the world. Like imagine this, Kalia, Lucas, and then the Valentina. There is a there is a world where the carry can be countered by another marksman. You
Mm-hmm.
know, like
Mm-hmm. Like,
1-1
okay, so
maybe. Yeah, 1-1
it,
is good actually.
like I can
Yeah.
understand why Falcons didn't take Harith themselves.
Hmm.
I think lane
Yeah.
wise carry blocks that out, right? Like carry,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. But I agree. I would like, but if I didn't see the carry pick, I would think that that's where Harith comes out on
Yeah.
red 4.
Yeah.
And it's just a overall safer pick, right? It's an overall
Yeah.
safer pick.
Safe, I guess. Yeah. So some teams, they're just feeling it. And honestly, there is that factor also that carry is Super Marco plays a very good carry. Carry kind of wins against the Glue. Not sure right
Mm.
now, but previously the previous Glue a
Mm-hmm.
little bit might struggle against carry, but I think the Glue right now with that spammable spread might not work. So I felt like if they picked up the Jawhead, because I predicted the Jawhead to be fourth pick by Aurora, and they eventually picked it up in the end, anyways. Imagine this, and imagine if they last picked their Doming Kite Hero with their gold laner. Whatever Falcons shows here, they can counter. Let's just say the carry was picked up by Falcons, they can Harith, right? And they already know that the Esmeralda is there or whatever. They can easily adjust. So that's why I think like the last pick should have been the marksman here for Aurora.
Mm.
Now they won this game, so I have nothing to say against. I don't know why I honestly don't know why Master the Basics and Aurora picked carry in the fourth pick here because I honestly felt like they could have just last picked their marksman and it will be like a perfect draft for them. But they won, so whatever. And oh, what else? Yeah, now I think that Coach Trevor and Falcons are no longer considering the Harith at this point because
Mm-hmm.
you're facing up against the Glue. The Suyo is sort of a threat, and also it you don't have you kind of want to have some physical like ramp damage. You don't need magic anymore because you have the Valentina anyways, and the Valentina will copy usually magic damage too. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the case. But again, this is interchangeable. If they pick up Harith here, what is a good explainer for them against the
It's,
Glue? No more CC, right? So yeah, it's difficult.
I
So
like the only one probably like what yes, oh wait, CC's banned out.
yeah,
Xborg, but I haven't seen that yet. I know Xborg was playing the jungle.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, again, at this point, this is more about the team's preference, anyways. I predicted the 1-1 because they, because the carry was fourth picked here
Mm.
by Aurora, and I also know that this is not the first time that Falcons picked up the 1-1. The week prior to this and 2 weeks prior to this, the week 6 and 7, Falcons actually picked up the 1-1 against this sort of composition where there's no actual burst.
Mm-hmm.
Zushin, like Selena, does not have a long range nuke.
Mhm.
that can make it a problem for the 1-1. So just looking at the 4 heroes, in fact, looking at the 5 heroes, the 1-1 should have a field day in here.
Yeah.
So
Like I lost a game as Juicin to a 1-1-2.
yeah, because there's nothing you can do,
You cannot control her.
literally. Yeah, you just can't. You just can't. I am surprised that Falcons lost this game despite having this kind of draft because their draft is really strong. But this is Aurora. They're the M6 representatives. They're a pretty good team, right? They're
Mm.
top two right now, so they're pretty good. So they know their lineup. And in fact, this is not like an outdraft in a way. It's more like a yeah. It's not even like a 70-30 outdraft. It's more like a 60-40 for me. 60 for Falcons, 40 for Aurora.
Mm.
Which for Aurora as a good team is enough for them to win.
Mhm.
Yeah. So go. Yeah. So that's the trade. This one, all of this is just my inventions. You only have to really think about this trade, which this is one thing that you really have to think about when before before the broadcast when you're thinking about what could be a good trade here. Like, does it make sense to pick up the Kalia or the Zushin first? That's always like, what do you think? And then you have to put your eyes on that last ban for both the blue side and the red side, because that is where an invitation for the trade happens. It's like where the parlay happens,
Mhm.
like in what's that movie? Pirates of the Caribbean. It's like, what do I get for this? Something. That's where it kind of feels like that last ban is where um the offers kind of happen between the teams. Like,
Yeah.
they're
It's like
forcing you to take this trade.
I get something, you get like I get
Yeah.
this, you get this.
Yeah. Yep. Right. So money usually is pick number 4, or the trophy. I call it money or trophy, because pick number 4 is where, I like when I pick up this glue, it answers 3 of your heroes, and then you cannot answer back. I'll ban the CC, and I'll take this carry. So uh, it's almost like there is no counter to the glue anymore.
Mm.
This is my money pick because you don't have I can ban 2 heroes. I only banned one here, CC, and then deny pick the other. But practically, you have 3 slots to work with to protect your money pick here. Third pick red. That's why I feel like because of how the draft is designed, red side is such a good side to pick right
Mhm.
now because of how easy it is. Like, you third pick something, and then you ban all the counters to that, and then you deny pick the third the with the fourth pick. I think it's such a pretty good spot. That's why this is a good example, because when they pick up the glue, they ban the CC and they deny pick the carry. So it's like it made a lot of sense in the end.
Yeah. So that's like 5 heroes like
Yeah.
taken out.
Yeah, essentially. So you always have that is always a crucial spot to look at when you're looking at red side. Curveball usually happens in pick number 6, which is the blue side here. For example, um, blue side also can utilize the last 2 picks in a way where they now reveal what their flexed hero is. For
Mhm.
example, this Lucas is now the jungler.
Mm.
Esmeralda is the explainer. It's like it's a curveball because, okay, what do you do now, red side? What do you answer? There are many cases where red side allots 4 heroes just to counter one good power pick hero, usually the first picked hero from the blue side, only to be suffering from a curveball that can be done in the last 2 picks of blue side.
Mm.
Yeah, so that's it. That's a curveball. And then lason. Do you know what lason is?
No, I don't.
It's a Tagalog
Is it
for
Tagalog?
poison, or yeah, poison, or it's like, so when a lason in team is like a more of a dark horse team that can be defeated by everyone but can also defeat everyone. That's like the lason usually in professional terms is like, this guy or this team is not at the top of the standings, can be defeated by anyone, but can also defeat anyone,
So
right?
it's like w- like a wild card.
Yeah, like Geek Fam.
Okay, yeah,
Geek Fam is like Omega. You know, Geek
yeah.
Fam is the best example because they lose against like the bottom feeders, but they also win against the top teams. You know,
Okay, yeah. We have a
they
close example. We have Monster Vicious last season.
Master
They
Vicious.
would
Todak.
yeah
Todak is
like Monster Vicious beat SRG and then they go on to lose against the bottom teams.
yeah. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So pick number five. Usually this one, in this slot, usually this is where you pick your badang, your lapu-lapu out of nowhere, your CC out of nowhere, um your Sicilian back in the days, your Valier
Mm.
out of nowhere. Heroes that you least expect, but actually poses a lot of threat in the end. But more than anything else, I think the most important ones. This is the most important one, the curveball, because usually that is where you reveal your hand and then force your opponents to react, and then the trade. With
Mm.
the
Mm.
trade being the most important one. Okay, now let's. We are now getting into the draft. After 1 hour and 16 minutes of introduction, we are now into the draft. Um, so where do we start? Obviously, we start with the bands,
Mhm.
and usually what happens is you look at the signature picks from your opponents. But if you know that you can defeat any kind of signature hero from your opponents, you kind of skip this part. But usually, when you're facing up against, let's say, Oh My Venus, or let's say you're facing up against Twisted Minds and they know that they play a lot of Angela and Alice, it's much better to target ban those teams. If
Mm.
you're facing Kyrie, would you give him the Fanny or the Hayabusa? Probably not.
Mhm.
So you look at target bans first. And I think this is fairly self explanatory.
Mhm.
After the target bans, let's say that you don't need anything or you've already covered your target bans. You now look at your tier list, right? Because now you consider what are the strongest heroes in the meta game. So for
Mhm.
now, I think the super duper good picks are Kalea, I think Zushin,
Tusin, yeah.
and the
Fanny.
Zu- and the Fanny. Yeah, I guess those are the heroes. And then um this is where you now consider Fovis. I think is
Chip too, right?
a chip. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Where's chip? There's chip. All right. So now you look at your S tier heroes and then consider: do we ban or do we trade for this? For the uh yeah. But basically, this is what goes in the minds of your typical drafters. We look at the target bans first, and then now we look what will be what is the what are the OP heroes that you don't want to give or you want to take,
Mm.
and then it coincides with the trade that we talked about earlier. So these two are they work hand in hand. Now, why did I put tech in the middle? Because this is uh this is still very optional, but there are sometimes specific heroes that are considered to be that 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 requires attention in a specific series. For example, Onic Philippines played against TNC, and the second time that we faced TNC,
Mhm.
we considered banning the Hanzo against TNC because we felt like Zaida played it so well. Although it's not an OP hero, it's not actually first ban worthy during that moment. But specifically in that series, because we still don't know how to play against it properly yet, or we don't know or if we give that Hanzo to the opponents, our own composition, our plans will not will not push through just because of a pick. We ban it,
Mm.
right? So this is why I included the tech here, but this is more like this is very much adjustable, and it does not work every time. It should be only used in specific moments,
Mm.
right? And then the most important part is the trade. There you go. And I've already explained this, but pretty much it's the most important part of the draft. And drafters lose sleep over this, Husky. Like I lost a lot of sleep over the trades. Usually that this is where you spend the most time. Like, what are we willing to trade? What happens if I give the Zushin and the Kalia? So first and two picks are most important parts of the draft.
Mm.
Next, you now consider your counters because again, the drafts usually after this and after the trade, picks 3 and 4. Usually it's like counter, 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 counter. Usually that's what happens now.
Mm.
So like I said, Valentina, there was a world where it answers the Soyu and the Zazushin. Lucas definitely hard counters the Soyu in the jungler role, and that is where the the exchange of counters happens. I don't think that I need to explain this at all.
Mm.
Next is your trophy or your money. As explained earlier, the glue became a very good pick for Aurora because you have one, two, three, potentially even five um, next instances where you can protect your money, right?
Mm.
Your first pick, right? Okay, and then afterwards, you know, before you continue with your bans, you know, even as a caster, and if you're going to be drafting the future, this will be very much applicable. But most specifically, if you're a caster, you now think about the compositions because in after slot number 4, you have some bans that you can use to deny your opponents of their composition or deny the counters or whatsoever. You utilize your bans as you see fit. But you practically see 3 of the heroes, right? So you kind
Mm.
of have a little bit of an idea on what kind of composition it will be. Now you look back at the secondary roles and what they can fill up. You look back at the main comps. You look back at the ingredients and you combine all of the things that you've learned so that you can eventually build a good draft. For example, right now for Aurora, they have the Zushin ramp damage. They have this Soyu. They have so much. They have a lot of card control with Zushin.
Tushin.
They have magic damage and tankiness because of the glue, but they don't have actual nukes or DPS. Right? They
Mm.
don't have damage. So, what will be your source of damage? What? How do you complete it? And apart from that, glue as well as the Zushin, they don't have a hard CC, I guess.
Mm.
So you don't have that kind of you don't have AOE or hard CC because Zushin as well as glue they're like more like mini crowd
It's like
controls.
very unreliable crowd control.
There you go. There you go. So that means that Falcons thought, okay, they might need that. Let's ban the Franco. Khalid, I don't know why they banned the Khalid. If I'm being honest, I don't know why they banned that out. Maybe that came from their research, so I don't know that. Now go on the other side. When you're looking at the heroes of Falcons, you have the Kalia, great CC, not so much damage. Lucas is a combo based hero where if you don't have your skill 1, 2, 3 combo, you're still weak. You don't actually kill anyone, right?
Mm.
And then the Valentina, that's also the case. So you kind of don't have the damage. That's why they banned this Beatrix, which kind of coincides perfectly. Like it's a supplementary damage to the Lucas, and it has great synergy with the Kalia.
Yeah.
So somewhere along those lines, right? So as a caster and as a drafter, this is the part where you think what complements the composition of each of the first 3 picks of the team,
Mm.
right? So there you go. And then you now look at windows and power spikes. I think this is also self-explanatory, where if you're looking at uh, Lucas as well as the Valentina, in a way you don't have late game. You have early to mid, right? It's very strong in
Mm.
the early to mid game. The Lucas as a jungler. So typically, what your MOBA mind will tell you is either go for a good late gamer or just double down on the early game. And
Mm-hmm.
usually, I think at least for me, I want to have late game security in this kind of composition. I think some teams like I think on Coach Eb wants to is more of a double down kind of a drafter. Etomax
Mm.
is definitely a double down kind of drafter where you don't you don't need to kind of cover everything, but if you overload on one thing, it generally works in the end. Something like
Mm.
that. But it's basically whatever the team. It depends on the team, honestly.
Yeah, I think we have. I think in Malaysia is probably right. Okay, right now I can't be too sure yet, but last 2 seasons it was Pops. It was a homeboy slash Vamos thing. Well, right now it's more of a
Mm.
Vamos thing. I think Zaya is doing almost the same thing. Maybe he's trying to fit with the team's play style because Vamos is very
Yeah,
early to mid centric. Like they want to smash you before 15 minutes and end the game, and if not, they start losing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Which I don't know why I forgot about this, but you also have to consider team signature. So this is also self-explanatory. After thinking about composition and power spikes, look at the team signature, and sometimes all sense is thrown out the table. If the team wins with this kind of composition, with this kind of heroes, eventually, that is what they're gonna choose anyways.
Mm.
Yeah. So the last ones, this is more like optional, I guess. So I'm gonna put a different color here. So last one, or this poison. It's like it's almost like your cheese strat or whatever, and then your curveballs afterwards. Also have to consider your curveballs,
Mm.
uh, which is again, all of these are very optional. Your cheese strats, those are your, I would say, last considerations. But when it comes to like your priorities, this is how it is.
Right. Right.
So that's how a draft goes. I don't know if I've explained counters. I think we will spend so much time just to discuss counters, but maybe eventually I'll make a Excel sheet for you for
There'll
what
be
my
like a
typical
separate thing
counters.
on its own.
Yeah, dude,
Yeah.
it's like, and most importantly, it changes from patch to patch. I think
Yeah.
so.
Like it's such a it's such a it's such a complex thing, like
Yeah,
when you look into it. Like I've
yeah,
tried and sat down. Like I've done I've was it last season or like the season before? I remember I would sit down every weekend, like after the
yeah,
week ends, and then I would look back at every single like game, and I'll start like what do you call
yeah,
cataloging the drafts, like the
yeah,
whole blue one red two thing, and then
yeah,
yeah, and then I think at one point there was a period of time where like we were provided the data, and I felt like okay I was just doing extra work for nothing, and I stopped doing it, and then now we
yeah.
don't have access to that data, and it's better than I do it myself because I think that period of time was the period where I was the most on point with getting my
Yeah,
calls because I actually remember what happened.
yeah. No, no, I agree. I think listing down this is more like habitual for the teams, right? Some teams or some drafters have a different mindset. I think the best example I have with this is like Matilda and Cho. I've I've known that many players or coaches will say that Matilda counters the Cho because the Matilda can just spot out where Cho is.
Mm-hmm.
But some teams would prefer the Cho versus the Matilda because they're thinking like, hey, if the Matilda is always on me, Matilda cannot control the other lanes or help the other lanes. If the Matilda keeps on following me, that means that the Matilda will not be able to go to the gold lane, which means that if we get a winning gold lane matchup, let's just say it's Granger versus a carry where the Granger wins, then we're very happy to pick up the Cho, even when some teams say that the Matilda is the counter to the Cho, right? So that's a um, that's more that is something that you can never say on paper, but if you look at the stats and understand how teams operate, then you'll notice that teams actually pick up this specific hero versus this specific hero just because of the data that you have.
Mm.
Another good example for Aurora is that they like the Zask versus the Zushin, especially in SPS. And like more often than not, Aurora is a team that picks up the Zushin, sorry, picks up the Zask versus the Zushin more than any other team that we've seen in SPS. So at least that's the stats will tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think we,
What else?
I think MY we started seeing Zask
Yeah.
towards the end of, I think on Sunday. So yeah, yesterday teams are picking Zas. I feel like the one team that is taking a lot of inspiration, well, for PH aside from SRG, because we're at Arcadia, right? It's
Yeah.
Monster Vicious. I think Monster Vicious is taking a lot of like notes from other regions, because they're the
Yeah.
only team right now that has picked Zask, and coincidentally they picked Zask into Zusin.
Mm.
Yeah, and it's been working. Well,
Yeah.
they won one game with it, right? They lost the other one, but I think the game that they lost was more of a comp thing than anything else. But in the
Yeah.
lane matchup, they definitely were the only one that decided to pick Zask.
Yeah. Uh, Again, that's yeah, like I said, team dependent. So remember. I hope that you recall all the things that we've learned in the previous, yeah, the
Mm-hmm.
past 1 hour and 30 minutes, and let's take a look at what the adjustments were for game number three. Because remember, we've seen game number two, right?
Yeah.
So in this case, Falcons lost, so they now rethink their strategy. They stayed in the blue side and they changed their trade. So they decided, okay, let's let us keep the Hayabusa open. The Zushin was actually problematic for us, so let's ban it out.
Mm-hmm.
And then Aurora thought, okay, because the Hayabusa is open anyways, I don't need to ban the Fanny anymore, because if Trevor or Falcons picks up the Fanny first pick, then that means I'll have Kalia
Yeah.
and potentially Harith in this case. And I don't need to actually first pick the Fanny in if the Hayabusa again, considering that the Hayabusa was the pick, because I can just third pick the Fanny, because obviously Fanny and Hayabusa will not be the choice for Falcons anyway. So they decided, let's just ban the Louis, because that could be another uh, alternative for Falcons. And this is probably a deep read or a hard read from Aurora.
Mm-hmm.
And then Falcons does the same trade. They pick up the Kalia, but this time, so the drastic change was no more Zushin and Fanny is open. Um, we don't need to pick up the Suyu, so let's get the Fanny. Demon Cat plays a good Fanny. This
Mm-hmm.
is a deny pick, anyways. And then let's pick up the Harith, so that we are so that Falcons is forced to have a probably the bad choices for marksman heroes. Now, Falcons thought, I think they got baited in this, but in many ways, I think this makes sense. Let's flex pick this Lucas and then pick the Valentina once again, so that they still pick up the counter. It's like almost again another pin or another
Mm-hmm.
fork for Falcon. So in many ways this makes a lot of sense. Now Aurora, knowing that this third pick, that they cannot protect it, they cannot protect their EXP laner anymore. They just took the best roamer for Renegade in their fourth pick. And then what they did was to, it's like having three bans for the potential
The
roamer
roamers.
for, yeah. But then in many ways I think it's kind of weird because Kalia is a roamer anyways.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the Louis and then the two bans from Aurora, they're more like hard reads where they felt like Flapteasy might just pick up the Kalia EXP out of nowhere. So they just said, okay, let's just cover our bases, make sure that the Fanny will be protected, because Fanny struggles against the Badang. Fanny sort of struggles against the Tigreal.
Mm-hmm.
And if we pick up the Jawhead, then we have covered. We make sure that it will not be target banned by Falcons, anyways. So I like this pickup from Aurora. I think the bans eventually made a lot of sense to me. I have to admit, initially when I was restreaming this, I thought that this was a ridiculous set of bans for Aurora. But again, after reviewing, when I have more time to think, but it will happen, dude. Like, um, in just 15 minutes and 34 seconds, that's not enough for you to make the best decision
Yeah.
unless you're like a god. So yeah, in this case, and then I like this ban from Falcons. They banned the glue because they saw from the previous game that it will be such a strong hero, and then they banned the Farsa because it has good synergy with the Jawhead.
Mm. I was thinking,
And
why didn't they
yeah,
just stick to a glue glue third for Rora?
mm,
S- Is it
it's
is it
yeah,
because is it because they already don't have access to carry, but then you can protect the glue by still banning carry, right?
yeah. They can buy the car. Well, I think that it was a conscious. They already know that. They already know that. So if they pick up the glue, let's say imagine this is glue, they will have to ban the CC once again,
Mm-hmm.
and I think this Khalid was actually also a known ban, and I think that they were scared that Renny J just played the Jawhead in the previous game, and Renny J was so successful with it. If we don't pick this up, it will be banned. This Khalid will
Mm.
be replaced by a Jawhead because that Khalid ban was a miss ban anyways from from Falcons.
Mm. Mm.
So I mean, this is just a guess. I'm not saying that this is the idea from Aurora, but if I were to guess, I think that's their mindset. It's because this kind of picks, like a third pick Joyd out of nowhere, is well, it's not really out of nowhere, but it's also a result of it being a game number 3, it being the how the bans was shaped up in the previous game. So it's like I said, a hard read
Mm.
from Aurora. Yeah. So what I liked about this is that they pick up the Novaria afterwards, and I actually predicted Novaria because I know that the combo here is I know that it wins the lane matchup against the Valentina
Mm-hmm.
because it's also a non-engaged lane
Yeah, it's
because
she's just she will just blow up the wave at level 2
yeah,
and
yeah,
move.
yeah. So when it comes to like reach and like actual engaged like clash, the Novaria will probably not rub shoulders with with the Valentina at any point in the laning stage. So I think that was safe. And also they're kind of prepping up for the fact that this is a utility jungler. So they forced Falcons to go for the for Lucas jungle, and they know that because like imagine what else is left, like Hayabusa Kalea, and then Lucas. Actually that's a good combo. I wonder why Falcons didn't choose that. But yeah, I thought that Novaria was a very good pick, and I predicted this to be the pickup because it it Novaria wins in utility jungler matchups. Like so, Lucas is more of a fighter more than
Mm.
an assassin jungler, so it just makes a lot of sense. Now, the Hilda is an EXP laner that is very much viable against almost any assassin junglers, especially all-in assassin junglers like Fanny and Hayabusa,
Mm-hmm.
because they just can't kill the Hilda. And also, it's a great lane bully. And in a way, Hilda is a hero that you don't want to use Ejector on as the Jawhead, right? Because
Mm.
if you utilize Ejector on the Hilda, normally the Hilda will be able to kill your damage dealers, your DPS.
Mm.
Yeah, something like that. But it's like a high loss treatment. However, I think Hilda also has decent has additional pseudo roles, like it's a vision hero.
Mm-hmm.
It can control the map for you. and it's not afraid of face checking bushes. So they needed a contact. They needed a contact guy because the thing is for Kalia as well as Lucas, the weird thing about these two heroes is that even when they're tanky and even when they can actually like be in front, they're not the best contact heroes because you want to flicker and surprise people with the Kalia
Mm,
initiation, right?
mm.
And then if you're the Lucas, you don't want to spend a mobility tool because your mobility tool, your skill one, if I'm not
Skill
mistaken,
2.
skill two, is part of your combo, right? It's part of your one hit combo. And if you use one, let's say you get poked and you use your first skill or your skill two, you only have skill one and doing just skill one and then ultimate, it's kind of it's nothing. It's not a combo, right?
Mm.
So in hindsight, Lucas is not your contact hero. Like even if you play it in the XP lane, you use flicker, you jump in the mid laner with your full combo, right? That's what you generally do.
Mm.
So I think Falcons, the reason why they got Hilda in this case is they needed a contact hero, which is the Hilda. The carry, I think, although I predicted the carry, it's only because Super Marco is very good at carry, and also I don't think that they have many choices anymore
Mm-hmm.
because you cannot go Bruno. The Fanny destroys that. Novaria just one shots that too.
Yeah, I think same
Uh,
for like Granger, Moskov.
Granger, yeah, yeah. So I think the reason why I was able to predict carry is more like because I know Falcons. I just know Falcons, and they might think that way. It's definitely hard to explain because there's a lot of depth to it, but yeah, that's my mindset.
Mm.
And then the last pick, CC from Aurora, is a book pick in a way that it just makes a lot of sense. Goes well against the Hilda. If you have the Vengeance, carry cannot attack you
Mm-hmm.
because you just take out the carry. Valentina cannot kill the CC unless the CC is an idiot, which Edward is not. Va- um, Lucas does not have a one shot combo against the CC also.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And most of the heroes of Falcons are single target. So yeah, CC is just a perfect answer to everything. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I hope I made
Okay.
sense. And that
Yeah, yeah, it does.
that's it.
Like I like no, because I was following you like through the draft too. I think the CC would have been my last guess too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's drafting 101, and I hope your viewers, if they stayed, learned something. Shout outs to viewers if they're still there. I'm just gonna upload this afterwards.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoy. I hope this is not info overload for you
Oh no, no, it's
or
actually
for
really fun.
anyone.
It's actually very fun. Like drafting is such a fun thing. Such a fun
Yes,
thing to
sir.
to look at.
Yeah. What I suggest you would do is, especially for MPL, look at revisit the drafting patterns for the past games, especially the games where you're surprised or why did this pick up? Why was this the thing? Then
Mm.
eventually you're gonna see the patterns. You're considering everything that I showed you here, like especially with the trade, you'll understand why the band pattern is like that for the teams and
Yeah.
why some teams will opt to go for their signature picks in the end, and what is the importance of this of the red side and the blue side. What are the pros and cons of going blue side and red side.
Yeah. Like some of the
And yeah,
like the some of the source of me looking at like the draft more thoroughly is I is it stems from me feeling like how me feels that like our local teams kind of suck at drafting. Like this is like no shade to the coaches, but sometimes it looks very it looks very weird. Like the way that they
yeah,
are drafting. Like certain drafts don't make sense.
I understand.
I remember they week one. week one, like our opening match, right? Like SRG Vamos, and I specifically remember, so SRG won game one, which was a close game, and then came game two, and then Vamos just had like the worst draft in the world, and none of us could understand why. We didn't know
Yeah.
why the heroes were picked in that sequence, and we couldn't find a way to justify, right? Because
Yeah.
it was just that poorly thought out. Yeah, and then it kept happening with other teams. Like other teams just stopped. They just don't. We feel like they don't think far enough. Like I remember there was this game where
Yeah.
a team was trading. A team was trading like Fanny Harry for like a pick that didn't even make
Yeah.
sense. Like what was it? It was trading like Fanny Harry for like a Moscow first pick. It's like why
Oh
would you
my
do that?
God. Okay.
So we had, yeah, and then like Hayabusa first pick also came out, and which instantly got shut down on
Yeah.
blue side. So we had so many of these moments where we started questioning, uh, like whether the teams or are the coaches not doing their job? Is it like a coach problem, or is it like the players having a
Wow.
very uh tight hero pool?
Limited pool. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they are not confident with like certain picks. Like right here, Suyo has an abysmal win rate. Like Suyo has like 40+% win rate. Moskov has like a 12% win rate. I think Moskov has been
Yeah.
picked 10 times. Oh well, Moskov has been picked like by six players, right? Let's say each player picks it twice, so let's say 12 times.
Yeah.
Only one player has managed to win with Moskov.
Uh,
Like in Malaysia, Innocent is the only person that is making sure Moskov doesn't have a 0% win rate.
I
So we
see.
have we have so many of these like moments.
Yeah. Oh, my cat is attacking me. She wants me to finish this long talk already. But going. I think it will take a whole podcast episode just for me to explain how hero pool and coach problems affect drafting, because that was my main problem when I was in TNC. Hero pool was so big of a problem that you have to really stretch your limits when it comes to the drafting. That's where you lose sleep. And part of it is also coaching, because why did you allow your team to have this hero pool problem? Or sometimes it's even a management problem, where why did they why do you pick a specific pool of players that did not have this specific play hero pool, or something like that. So
Mm.
even it happens even to the best of us. Like even King Kong is target banned, you know
Yeah, yeah.
even
Like
the best players out there.
the earlier
Yeah,
stage, right,
right.
when he was like struggling with Lucas Jungle.
Exactly, right? So things like this, like hero pool, is definitely probably the main driver on why the draft patterns of teams
Yeah,
are
with
shaped the way they are.
like I've heard, like well, I heard this like last weekend. Like some of our players, they can play the usual like assassins, so like your big three, right? Fanny, Suyo, Joy, and then they just refuse to play like a certain hero, like uh, and some of the excuses I feel like were really bad excuses. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
I don't want to play Suyo because I lost with Suyo last week, which
Well,
is,
that's a bad excuse.
yeah, it's like, why would you say that? Like, if that's the case,
Yeah.
then you probably would not win games. Like
Yeah,
like
well, you'll never win any game. You'll probably will run out of
like
heroes.
he's global banning himself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I hope you enjoyed this. I enjoyed it even when it's yeah, even when I just did this with pretty much what it looks unprepared, but I did prepare for this. It's just that it's not visually appealing, so
No, it's
but I did enjoy.
it's very like digestible. I think like like anyone watching this maybe now or like down the road when you re-upload it, it's very
Yeah.
digestible. It's like very
Nice.
digestible. Like I
Right.
find it very digestible. Like I look back and I think that
Yeah.
it's one of the few times where I sit through something and I don't feel like I'm missing. No, well, not. I
Uh
don't feel like there's like overload. Yeah,
nice.
it's very
That's
because
good to hear.
yeah, because like I play mobile my whole lives, so like the basics do help. Like coming from
Yeah.
Dota,
Like
like all these things is
yeah.
it's like an everyday thing. Like drafting for not drafting for Dota, but talking about Dota drafts. Like casting Dota back then
Yeah.
really like
Yes.
hones your fundamentals.
100% agree.
It's so complex. Like Dota drafts
Yeah.
are a headache. Like people who can draft out in Dota are genius.
Yeah. I think with Dota you are forced to think really just 10 steps ahead.
Yeah, like 12 12 best in total, and then hero roles are getting more and more
Yeah.
ambiguous with the amount of mechanics they're introducing.
Yeah.
I think in
I th-
Dota, flex and cheese picks are like the biggest thing in Dota.
yeah, for sure. Dota 2 captain's mode number of best. I think they have 14 now, dude.
What's it? Yeah, 14 now. Wait, 14? 7 best per team? I thought isn't it still 6? Oh, I haven't
They,
followed
they,
for Dota
they
for
increased it. They increased it.
oh again.
So
Oh man.
wait,
So it's four. Wait, no. So it's what 2-3-2?
captain's mode ban count has changed from 4-1-1 to 3-2. So that's 7 bans, dude.
Yes. I wish. I hope that someday we get. I hope that someday we.
7 bans, man.
I hope someday we get like 6 bans per team in ML.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't know how
You
they
know what
would
I?
do it, but
Yeah.
I hope so.
You know what I want to be implemented in MLBB? Reserve time. I think
Oh yeah. Reserve
reserve
time.
time. I think
Yeah.
that helps a lot. You know.
I
But at the same time, like we're playing mobile games, so you
yeah
kind of need
yeah
to be
yeah.
quick on your feet. Like, especially because now we know that drafts, if you play it all throughout, will take 15 minutes and 30 seconds. Some games don't even last 15 minutes. So, yeah.
Like a joke that we made in Dota actually happens in ML. Like people say, oh, Dota's drafting phase is so long, you can play 2
Yeah.
ML matches with it.
Exactly.
ML drafting phase. I didn't even think of it as that long because it feels so quick, right? But I do hope
Yeah.
that they increase the ban limits. I think 6 bans per
Uh,
team. Eventually,
fine.
hopefully, it's a thing. We have so many heroes, and it's I feel like the side selections becomes quite lopsided at certain
Yeah.
times.
I'm asking Google now what is the okay. 130 seconds? Wait,
That's about 2 minutes 10 seconds per ban, or is it reserve time total?
total bonus time is 130 seconds, right?
So you get two minutes.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's a minute for picks, so that's 10 picks. So that's 5 minutes for picks. 2 minutes reserve time. There's already 7. Then ban phase is 7, so that's like 7 times. So that's easily 20 minutes if you played it out full.
It's 28 minutes.
28 minutes with
Yeah,
this.
28 minutes of drafting phase. That's a full BO3 in ML if it goes
That's
2-0.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you so much, Husky, man. I enjoyed this. There will be a follow-up session for this, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm pretty
No.
sure. We
No.
will have to do it.
We have to do it. We I was even planning to do a tier list, but I think that
We can save it
maybe
for the
when
next one.
for the next maybe when we prep for MSC, that will be
Yeah.
I hope you
this-
do cast the MSC, dude.
I hope so too. I think
Yeah.
there's most likely a patch before MSC, so this tier
Yeah.
list is gonna change anyways.
For sure.
Um,
Yeah.
I think. Wait, I heard that the China exclusive hero is gonna be released before MSC, and be available for MSC. So
Ooh.
yeah, that's gonna change quite a lot.
Wow.
That's what I
Okay.
heard. We'll
Okay.
see. We'll see.
All right. Oh. Anyways, guys, I don't know how to end this because this is not an episode of any series, but I do hope that you enjoyed this podcast or this session. Yep. That's it.
That's
Goodbye,
it.
Husky and Wolf.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Signing out.